Hi, we are Compilo and we present you with the detailed solutions of question paper of year 2024 for computer science exam of CBSE. In this, not only you get all the answers, but a detailed explanation of each answer has also been provided. This is a quick guide before your real exam and we highly recommend it for achieving good marks in this subject. Moreover, we have two important booklets for you as depicted on the screen, but we will discuss about them soon. So what are you waiting for? Let's start the session. So let's start with section A, in which first question is true or false. It says while defining a function in Python, the positional parameters in the function header must always be written after the default parameters. The answer of this question is false. See, in Python, positional parameters must always be written before default parameters in the function header. Writing a default parameter before a positional parameter will result in a syntax error. As you can see on the screen, the first example shows the error and second is the correct example. Second question is a fill in the blanks, which says the select statement when combined with dash clause returns records without repetition. And the options are distinct, describe, unique, and null. The answer of this question is distinct. The select distinct statement is used in SQL to return records without repetition by filtering out duplicate values in a column. As you can see on the screen, we have an example where we select distinct cities from a customer table. This query retrieves unique city names from the customer table, eliminating duplicates. Next question is, what will be the output of following statement? The statement is print, then 16 multiplied by 5, divide by 4, multiplied by 2, again divide by 5, minus 8. The answer to this question is 0 0.0. Let's start by step calculation. So we can first multiply 16 by 5, which will give us 80. And then once we divide it by 4, we will get 20. And once we multiply it by 2, we get 40. And once we divide it by 5, we get 8. And finally, we have to subtract 8 with 8, which gives us 0. Question number 4 is, what possible output from the given options is expected to be displayed when the following Python code is executed? The answer to this question is option A, yellow hash, red hash. Now let's understand the loop. So at first, range 2, 0, -1 generates two values, which is 2 and 1. And in the first iteration where k is equal to 2, the random.randRange with parameter 2 generates 0 or 1. So in signal 0 we will get red and in signal 1 we will get yellow. So the possible outputs will be red or yellow. And in second iteration, the random.randRange with parameter 1 will generate 0. So signal 0 will be red. So the possible outputs will be if random.rand range with 2 parameter gives 1, that is yellow, followed by 0, that is red, then output will be yellow hash red hash. However, if random.rand range with parameter 2 gives 0, that is red, followed by 0, that is again red, then the output will be red hash red hash. But this is not in the option. That's why yellow hash red hash is the correct answer. Next question is, in SQL, the aggregate function which will display the cardinality of the table is, and the options that are given are, option A is sum function, option B is count asterisk, option C is average function, and option D is sum asterisk. Answer to this question is B, count asterisk, because this function counts the total number of rows, that is cardinality, in a table including null values. Question number 6 is, which protocol out of the following is used to send and receive emails over a computer network? And the options that are given are PPP, option B is HTTP, option C is FTP, and option D is SMTP. Answer would be D, that is SMTP, which stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. It is used for sending emails, while IMAP or POP3 is used for receiving emails. Question number 7 is, identify the invalid Python statement from the following. The correct option would be D, that is G is equal to dict with curly braces. It is invalid because it is the incorrect syntax for dictionary initialization. Rather, we should use G is equal to dict with a parenthesis. Question number 8 is, consider the statements given below and then choose the correct output from the given options. The correct option is B, which says MISS hash SIPPI. The explanation would be mystr, in square bracket we have colon with 4. This section of the code extracts first 4 characters, which are MISS, whereas mystr and in square bracket -5 with colon extracts last 5 characters, that is SIPPI. And when we concatenate both of them with hash, it gives MISS hash SIPPI. Question number 9 is, identify the statement from the following which will raise an error. For this question, option C, which is print and in double inverted commas 15 plus 3. This will raise an error because it is a type error, as we cannot concatenate a string which is in double inverted commas 15 with an integer which is 3. For all other things, say if I take example of A, which is in double inverted comma A multiplied by 3, it gives the output of AAA. Whereas if we talk about option B, that is 5 asterisk 3, it gives an output of 15. However, if we talk about option D, that is in double inverted comma 15 plus in double inverted comma 13, it gives 1513 as output because both are strings. Therefore, C option is correct here. Question number 10 is, select the correct output of the following code. The correct option would be B, in square bracket with single inverted comma presidency at the rate 2023. Let's break down the code to understand what it does. So at first, event is equal to in double inverted comma G20 presidency at the rate 2023 assigns the string G20 presidency at the rate 2023 to the variable event. Then L is equal to event dot split with single inverted commas. This splits the event string at each space and creates a list. So the list would be G20 and presidency at the rate 2023. So the list would have two elements, G20 and presidency at the rate 2023. Now print L 2 times colon with -2. This slices the list with a step of -2, which means it will start from the end of the list and move backwards, taking every second element. So it will start from last element, that is presidency at the rate 2023, step by -2, which means take every second element, which means it will take presidency at the rate 2023 again. Question number 11 is, which of the following options is the correct unit of measurement for network bandwidth? Option A is KB, option B is bit, option C is hertz, and option D is kilometer. Correct option is B, that is bit. Network bandwidth is measured in bits per second. Options like KB, that is kilobyte, hertz, or kilometer are incorrect as they measure storage, frequency, and distance respectively. And if you think that the answer should be hertz, let me tell you something. In networking and digital communication, the focus is on data transfer rate. Hence, BPS is used, bits per second. In signal processing and analog communications, Hertz is used because it deals with frequency ranges. Now, since the question is about network bandwidth in the context of digital data transmission, the correct answer remains BPS, that is bits per second. Question number 12 is, observe the given Python code carefully and then select the correct output from the given options. And the options are A 10, B 20, C 30 or D error. The answer would be B, that is 20. Why? See, A is equal to 20 is declared globally. Inside convert with parameter A is a local variable that does not modify the global A. Convert 10 executes, but print A refers to the global A, which remains 20. Hence, the output is 20. Question number 13 is, state whether the following statement is true or false. While handling exceptions in Python, name of the exception has to be compulsorily added with except clause. This statement is false. In Python, an except clause can be written without specifying the exception name. However, mentioning a specific exception like except zero division error is recommended for better error handling. Question number 14 is, which of the following is not a DDL command in SQL? Option A is drop, option B is create, option C is update, and option D is alter. Option C, which is update, is the correct one. See, data definition language, that is DDL, defines and modifies database structure, and few commands are create, alter, and drop. However, update is the data manipulation language which modifies data, not the structure. Question number 15 is a fill in the blanks, which says dash is a set of rules that needs to be followed by the communicating parties in order to have a successful and reliable data communication over a network. We can fill this blank with protocol, because a protocol is a set of rules followed by devices for successful and reliable data communication over a network. For example, TCP/IP, HTTP, FTP, SMTP, etc. Question number 16 is, consider the following Python statement. Which of the following is an invalid statement in Python? The correct option is C, that is f.seek in parenthesis 0, -1. See, seek with two parameters, offset and whence, is used to move the file pointer to a specific position. And valid whence values are 0, 1 and 2, where 0 moves relative to the beginning of the file, 1 moves relative to the current file position, and 2 moves relative to the end of the file. That is why whence value -1 is invalid. Question number 17 and 18 are assertion and reasoning based questions. We need to select any of the options among option A. Both assertion and reason are true, and reasoning is the correct explanation for assertion. Option B is both assertion and reasoning are true, and reasoning is not the correct explanation for assertion. Option C is assertion is true but reasoning is false. And option number D is assertion is false but reasoning is true. The assertion of question number 17 is CSV file is a human readable text file where each line has a number of fields separated by comma or some other delimiter. And the reason of question number 17 is write row method is used to write a single row in a CSV file. In this situation, both assertion and reason are true. However, reason is not the correct explanation for A. See, CSV files are human readable text files where values are separated by commas or any other delimiter. Also, write row is a method in the CSV module used to write a single row in a CSV file. But this statement does not explain the assertion. The assertion of question number 18 is the expression hello dot sort in Python will give an error. And the reason of question number 18 is sort does not exist as a method or function for strings in Python. In this case, both assertion and reason are true. Also, reason explains assertion. The expression hello.sort will give an error because string do not have a sort method, and same has been explained with the reason, that is the sort method exists only for lists, not for string. For sorting a string we use sorted. Before we move to the next question, let me highlight one thing. We have prepared a booklet with a solution of all the questions that were asked in 2024. So all that you have to do is just click on the link given in the description and enter the email ID. Like if someone's name is Sarjeet Singh, you can give your email ID like, and then you have to enter the phone number. Now, before you move ahead, you will have to enter an amount. It's not a fixed price. You can enter whatever you want, but the minimum amount that you can enter is rupees 1. You cannot get it on free. So even if you enter rupees 1, you will be able to move ahead. Else, you can enter whatever amount you want to add. Now, let me quickly click on this button. You can either select the UPI option by scanning this UPI, or you can enter your card details, or you can opt for net banking, or even go for wallet. Let me try a payment of rupees 1 to see if it is successful with the download of file or not. Okay, so I have scanned it, and as soon as I do it, now it will redirect us to the download link. We need to wait for a few seconds, and there we go. This file, we can quickly save it in our desktop. CBSE Computer Science Answer 2024 underscore compilo. Let me click on save, and it's done. Let me open it, and if you see, we have the PDF downloaded like this, and we have all the explanations of the questions as discussed. Let's move to section B, where first part of question 19A is expand the following terms: XML and PPP. Answer to this question is, for XML, the full form would be Extensible Markup Language, whereas for PPP, it will be Point-to-Point Protocol. The second part of question 19A is give one difference between circuit switching and packet switching. There are assorted differences between circuit switching and packet switching. Like, circuit switching establishes a dedicated path between sender and receiver before communication starts. Whereas in packet switching, data is divided into packets, each taking different routes to reach the destination. When it comes to circuit switching, it is used in traditional telephone networks, whereas packet switching is used in internet communication. The first part of question 19B is define the term web hosting. Web hosting is a service that allows organizations and individuals to store and publish websites on the internet. It provides server space, bandwidth, and security for websites. The second part of question 19B is name any two web browsers. Although we have a lot of browsers available in the market, but couple of popular ones are Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and Microsoft Edge. Question number 20 says the code given below accepts 5 numbers and displays whether they are even or odd. Observe the following code carefully and rewrite it after removing all syntax and logical errors. Underline all the corrections made. It's a 2-mark question, and if you notice, we have syntax errors at 4 positions. So at first, if you see that we have added a colon while defining the even odd function, and after that in line number 3 we have closed the parenthesis in input function, and after that we have replaced division symbol with percentage for modulo operation, and finally we have indented print odd correctly. Question number 21A is write a user-defined function in Python named showGrades with a parameter s, which takes the dictionary s as an argument. The dictionary s contains name, colon, English, math, science as key value pairs. The function displays the corresponding grade obtained by the students according to the following grading rules. So, the average of English, math and science has been given in column first and the grade is defined in column second. So if the average of English, math and science is greater than or equal to 90, then student will get grade A. If the average of English, math and science is less than 90 but greater than or equal to 60, then the student will get B grade. Else the student will be given C grade. And then we have been given the sample dictionary along with the expected output. So function showGrade with parameter s can be defined as depicted on the screen. Here what happens is this function accepts the dictionary s where keys are student names and values are list of marks for English, math and science. The for loop iterates over each student and their marks. And after that, the function calculates the average using the formula sum of marks divided by the number of subjects. Here we have used len function for marks as it will give the length of dictionary, that is 3 here. Now what happens is we have 3 conditions. If average of marks is greater than or equal to 90, the grade assigned would be A. If the average of marks is greater than or equal to 60 but less than 90, the assigned grade would be B. Else grade C would be assigned. And finally we have a print statement which prints the name with grade. To understand in a better way, let's see this code in a compiler. So here as you see, we have this function defined as discussed earlier, and now if I have this example dictionary with 3 keys Amit, Nagma and David having 3 subject marks each. So now if I call this function showGrade with parameter s, so what it will give us? It will give Amit will have grade B, Nagma will have grade C and David will have grade A. Question 21b says write a user defined function in Python named puzzle, and in parameters we have w, n, which takes the argument w as an English word and n as an integer and returns the string where every nth alphabet of the word w is replaced with an underscore. For example, if w contains the word television and n is 3, then the function should return TE underscore EV underscore SI underscore N. Likewise, for the word television, if N is 4, then the function should return TEL underscore VIS underscore ON. The function depicted on the screen replaces every nth character of the word W with an underscore. It takes two parameters, W of a string type, which is the input word, and N of integer type is the interval at which characters should be replaced. And finally, it returns the modified string with every nth character replaced by underscore. So we start by initializing an empty string result to store the modified word. And after that, we loop through each character of the word W. In the if condition, we check if the position is a multiple of n, and after that it replaces the nth character with underscore, else it keeps the original character, and finally it returns the overall result. So as discussed earlier, we have defined puzzle function with W and N as parameters, and when we take example first, which has puzzle with television as a string and the nth character will be 3. So the expected output should be every third character should have underscore. So let me first run it. And yes, we are getting the same output, right? Now let me try the second one where we have nth character as 4. So the expected output is TEL underscore VIS underscore ON. Let me run it. And there we go. We have the expected output now. Question number 22 says, write the output displayed on execution of the following Python code, where we have a list of Himalaya, Nilgiri, Alaska, and Alps. See, the outputs will be Himalaya #8 and Alps #4. Now, let's understand the step-by-step execution. So in the first step, the list initialization will happen where we will have 4 elements: Himalaya, Nilgiri, Alaska, and Alps. And after that, we will check lengths of each string modulo 4. So when we talk about Himalaya, its length is 8, and when we take the modulus with 4, it gives 0. So we can consider this as first output. After that, Nilgiri has length of 7. When we take the modulus of 4, so it is not equal to 0. Same applies to Alaska, which has length 6 and modulus is not 0. But for Alps, it has length 4 and modulus gives us 0. So the valid entries will be Himalaya and Alps. That's why in the first iteration we will get Himalaya #8, and in the second iteration we will get Alps #4. Question 23a says, write the Python statement for each of the following tasks using built-in functions or methods only. And the first part is to remove the item whose key is Nisha from a dictionary named students. For example, if the dictionary students contains key as Anita and value as 90, then key as Nisha, value as 76, and key as Asha, value as 92. Then after removal, the dictionary should contain key as Anita and value as 90, and key as Asha and value as 92. We can have two answers to this question. The first answer will be students.pop and then we pass the string Nisha. And second answer would be tell students with a string Nisha. Let's understand it by writing the code. So as asked in question, we have a dictionary with three students as keys, Anita, Nisha and Asha. Now you must be thinking why we have two types of answers. Generally DEL students Nisha is correct and it's an easy one also. However, pop returns the value associated with the key and provides an option to specify a default value to avoid errors if the key does not exist, right? However, delete directly removes the key value pair but raises a key error if the key does not exist. So all in all, both are correct, but pop is generally safer if you are unsure whether the key is present or not. Okay, so let me try removing it like this. So if I run this statement and I will print it twice. See, in the first run, it has Nisha, but in the second run, it does not have. All right, now let me comment this out and move this to below. Okay, let me uncomment it. So if you see in the first run, we had Nisha as key, but in the second run, we don't have. So both of them are giving the same output.
The second part of question says to display the number of occurrences of the substring is in a string named message. For example, if the string message contains this is his book, then the output will be 3.
To answer this question, I have already written the code on online compiler. So as you can see on the screen, we have a string, this is his book. Now let me use this function message.count with is occurrence. So what it will do, it will returns the count of occurrences of is. And finally we will just print this count. So it is giving me 3 as output. Why? Because first occurrence, second occurrence and third occurrence.
Question 23b says a tuple named subject stores the names of different subjects. Write the Python commands to convert the given tuple to a list and thereafter delete the last element of the list.
So as you can see on the screen, we have a tuple with subjects math, physics, chemistry and biology. And to convert it into list, we can use the list method. So as you can see, it will convert this tuple to list. And finally, to pop the last element, we can use the pop method. So let me uncomment it and let me add a couple of print statements. Print subject. Remember, do not use caps print, caps print because it will give you a syntax error. Now let me again copy and print subject list and again print subject list. Okay, let me run the command. So if you can see in parentheses we have these subjects maths, physics, chemistry and biology. That means it's a tuple. And in square bracket we have math, physics, chemistry and biology. That is the list. And finally the last subject has been removed using pop method.
Question 24A says, Miss Veda created a table named Sports in a MySQL database containing columns game ID, player age, and game name. After creating the table, she realized that the attribute category has to be added. Help her to write a command to add the category column. Thereafter, write the command to insert the following record in the table, where game ID will be G42, player age will be above 18, game name will be chess, and category will be senior.
To add a new column category to the sports table, we can use the command depicted on the screen, which says alter table sports, add category, and the data type would be varchar with the length 20. To insert the given record into the sports table, we can use the command depicted on the screen. Insert into sports with all the column names, game ID, PH, G name, and category, and with a values clause along with the values G42, above 18, chess, and senior.
Question 24b says, write the SQL commands to perform following tasks. And first task is, view the list of tables in the database exam.
The correct command would be show tables from exam.
And second task is, view the structure of the table term 1.
We can use DESC term 1 because it will describe the database.
Question 25 says, predict the output of the following code, where we have defined a function called call on with two parameters b and a having default values. And after that, we have couple of print statements based on the assigned values.
Let's understand the code in sequential way. So at first, what we have a function call on, okay, and we are passing default value for b as 20 and for a as 10. And after that, what happens? To b we assign b plus a, and to a we assign b minus a, and finally we print b with hash and a. Now in the x and y values we have passed 100 and 200. So let me uncomment this line and run the code. What will happen? We will get 300 hash 100. Why? Because y will be 200 and x will be 100, right? So in place of default values, we will pass 100 and 200. And here in the b, it will be added as 300, right? 100 plus 200. And for a, it will become b minus a, that is 200 minus 100, that is again 100. And here we will pass 300 hash a, that is 300 hash 100. So this will be the first function call. And in the first function call, we will have a print statement. Again, if I uncomment this line and run, so what will happen? Now, if you notice, this function returns a value, and that value is b. And what is b? With the previous call, b becomes 100 plus 200, right?
100 becomes 100 plus 200, that is 300. So we will assign 300 to x, and 200 will obviously be there because of y. So that is why in this print statement we will have 300 at the rate 200. If you are confused, so let me reiterate. With this function call, the highlighted one, we have passed x as 100 and y as 200 here, right? Right? Now the b becomes 100, sorry, 200 plus 100, that is 300, and a becomes 200 minus 100, that is 100. And this is the first print statement. However, this function returns a value also. If you see this line, it is returning b, which is 300 now. And this returned value will be assigned to x. That is why when we again call this x, it will become 300 here. And 200 will anyway be there because of y. That's why the second row will have 300 at the rate 200. Now let me uncomment this line. Now what will happen? We have y is equal to 200. So what will happen? This y will be passed to this place, right? That is 200, and a will be 10. So 200 and 10 will be available. So now which value will be assigned to b? It will be assigned b plus a, that is 200 plus a, that will become 210, and b minus a, that is 200. Correct? B means 210, which is assigned here. So it will become 210 minus 10, then it will become 200. So the print statement will give 210 hash 200, and in the b, which is 210, it will be returned to this place. So now y will have 210, and the print statement will have this 210 hash 200. And finally, if we print this statement, so x is already 300 with previous call, and y has become 210 with this call. That is why with the add the rate, we have 300 at the rate 210. Now let's move to section C, where question number 26 says, write the output on execution of the following Python code, where we have a string race car, car, radar. And after that, it has been split, and then we go under a for loop. I have rewritten this code on compiler along with the necessary comments. So if you see, S is the input string, and the split function splits the string into three words: race car, car, and radar. In the for loop, it iterates through each word in the list. That means at first it will consider race car, then it will consider car, and finally it will consider radar. What it will do, it will convert all the words into uppercase. And finally, it will check if with this line, it will check if the word is a palindrome or not. And finally, it will print each statement with a star. So in case the word is a palindrome, so it will have each character followed by star. Else, in case the word is not a palindrome, then each character will be followed by hash, and every time a new line will be inserted. So let me run this program. Yes. So as you can see on the screen, we have three outputs. Two of them are palindrome, race car, and radar, whereas car is not a palindrome. So in the first iteration of this for loop, it will convert race car to the uppercase, and finally it will check if it is palindrome or not. Since race car is a palindrome, so it will start printing each character one by one by adding an asterisk symbol after it. Question 27 says, consider the table orders given below and write the output of the SQL queries that follow. The table has 5 columns: order number, item, quantity, rate, and order date. And the first part of question is, select item, comma, sum of quantity from orders, group by item. Second part says, select item, quantity from orders where order date between 2023 11/01 and 2023 12/31. And third part of the question says, select order number, order date from orders where item is equal to wheat and rate is greater than or equal to 60.
Well, for this, I have created a table orders and inserted the records that were given to us in the question paper in this table. So now if I quickly run this command, select asterisk from orders, it gives me the same output: 101 rice, 23, 120, and the date. Now let's focus on the first query. It says select item, comma, sum of quantity from orders, and it groups by item. What it does is, this query groups the record of items and calculates the total quantity, that is sum, of each item. The group by clause ensures that each unique item appears once in the output. Alright, so for pulses we have 29 as an output, for rice we have 48 as an output, and for wheat we have 80 as an output. See, for pulses, how many occurrences of pulses you can see? The first occurrence is this, and second occurrence is this. And what is the quantity? 13 and 16. So sum of 13 and 16 will be 29 obviously, right? So that's why because of the group by clause, pulses string will appear once and it will add the quantity. Now let's talk about rice. So rice appears once and twice, right? So for two times, what is the quantity? 23 and 25, which makes it to 48. And same goes to wheat, where we have occurrence of wheat three times: wheat, then again wheat, and finally here. So the quantity is 28, 27, and 25, which makes it to 80. Alright, now let me comment this line and uncomment this and run it. But before running, what this query says is, this query tries to retrieve the item and quantity for orders placed between 23/11/01 and 23/12/31 inclusive. We will filter out only those rows where order date falls within the range. So let me run the query. Alright, so rice and 25, wheat and 28. So let me see the date. So we need to check the date between 23/11/01. So 23/11, right? 11/01. So this one falls, right? And then 23/12/25, which falls in this range, right? All others are above or below this range. So that's why we are getting these two as output. Now let me just comment this and uncomment this line and run it. See, this query retrieves order number and order date for all the orders where item is wheat and the rate is greater than or equal to 60. So occurrence of wheat is 3 times. Wheat with quantity 28 and rate is 65. Wheat quantity 27, rate 55. Wheat quantity 25, wheat rate 60. So the output says the order is 1004. 1004 has rate as 65 and order number 1007 where rate is 60. So both occurrences we are giving as output along with the date.
Question 28a says write a user defined function in Python named show in lines which reads contents of a text file named story.txt and displays every sentence in a separate line. Assume that a sentence ends with a full stop, a question mark, or an exclamation mark. For example, if the content of file story.txt is as follows: our parents told us that we must eat vegetables to be healthy. And it turns out our parents were right. So, what else did our parents tell? Then, the function should display the file's content as follows. In the first line, we'll see our parents told us that we must eat vegetables to be healthy. In the second line, we must see and it turns out our parents were right. And in the third line, we must see so what else did our parents tell?
See, this question expects us to have a text file called story. So in my desktop, I have created a file called story.txt with this text. Our parents told us that we must eat vegetables to be healthy. And it turns out our parents were right with an exclamation mark. So what else did our parents tell? And finally we have a question mark. I have already prepared the code for you. So let me just open it. So as you can see on the screen, we have a function called show in lines with try and except block. In try, what we do, we first open the file story.txt to read the content. So for reading the content, we use R mode. Okay. So first it opens the file and read its content. Later, what it does is it replaces any sequence of punctuation mark with a period. That is this. So for that, what it does, it uses the replace function, and after that for exclamation it uses period, then for question mark also, and then it uses split function. After that it goes into the loop to print each sentence by removing the extra spaces, and it only prints the non-empty sentences. In the except block we handle the errors in case the file is not available. So to check this except block, let me remove this location, and if I try to execute it, it says the file story.txt was not found. Now let me paste the correct location here, and now if I run it, so it says our parents told us what we must eat. Our parents told us that we must eat vegetables to be healthy. In the next line it says, and it turns out our parents were right. And finally it says, so what else did our parents tell? See, this program is a simple example of executing whatever has been asked. However, we can use it in a better way by using regular expressions. And for that, we will have to import RE, that is regular expression library. And once we do that, we can easily execute it.
So this program can have multiple solutions, and whichever solves the problem asked should be considered as the correct one. Question 28b says, write a function c underscore words in Python that separately counts and displays the number of uppercase and lowercase alphabets in a text file words.txt. Now, this question expect us to have a words.txt file, and we are expected to count the occurrences of uppercase alphabets as well as the occurrences of lowercase alphabets separately. So as an example, I have created words.txt file with this string. We are discussing CBSE class 12th exam paper of 2024 with Compilo. If you notice, we have total 10 characters in uppercase, that is W, D, CBSE, C, E, P, and C. I have already prepared the program for you. Let me just open it. Now, here, if you notice, we have C underscore words function, which in its try block reads the file words.txt, which again it is in uploads folder, and it uses the R mode. It completely reads the file for variable content. After that, what we do, for upper count, we use sum function and it keeps on adding 1 for every character which is in uppercase, and we check using isUpper function. Same applies to lowercase. We keep on adding 1 for each character in the content which is lowercase. And finally, we just print the output. So as we calculated earlier, it is showing us 10 alphabets in uppercase and rest of them are in lowercase. Question 29 says, consider the table projects given below, where we have 5 columns: PID, PName, language, start date and end date. Based on the given table, write SQL queries for the following. And the first part of the question says, add the constraint primary key to column P underscore ID in the existing table projects. Second question says, to change the language to Python of the project whose ID is P002. And third part is to delete the table projects from MySQL database along with its data. To answer these questions, I have already created a table called projects with following columns: PID with varchar type, PName, language, start date and end date. Also, I have loaded the same data which was in the question paper for all the project IDs, then project names, then language, then start date and end date. Now, the first question is to create the primary key constraint. And for that, what we can do, we can write alter table, because we need to add a constraint. So we will have to alter the table projects and add primary key on PID, right? There we go. In the next question, we are expected to update the language of project with project ID P002. For that, we can use update projects set language is equal to Python. If we do not use a where condition, then it will update Python in
each line of language column. Therefore, we must be very careful while using the update statement. So now let me use the where clause. P underscore ID should be P002. There we go. Right? Okay. Next question is we need to delete this project table. So to delete it, we should use delete table and then projects. That's it. Right? And let me add semicolon. Right? Question 30 says, consider a list named nums which contains random integers. Write the following user-defined functions in Python and perform the specified operations on a stack named big nums. The first part is push big, which checks every number from the list nums and pushes all such numbers which have 5 or more digits into the stack big nums. And second is pop big, which pops the numbers from the stack big nums and displays them. The function should also display stack empty when there are no more numbers left in the stack. For example, if the list nums contains the following data and we have been given a list, then on execution of push big, the stack big nums should store 10025, 254923, 1297653, 31498 and 92765. And on execution of pop big, the following output should be displayed. See, we are given a list called nums containing random integers. Now we need to create a stack named big nums to store numbers that have 5 or more digits. Now to do this, we have to implement two functions, push big and pop big. Push big has to add numbers with 5 or more digits to big nums, and pop big needs to remove numbers from big nums one by one and print them. If the stack is empty, it prints stack empty. So for this, I have already written the code as you can see on the screen. We have a list of random numbers as mentioned in the question paper. And after that, we have big nums. So push big function checks each number in the nums. And after that, if the number has 5 or more digits, it is pushed into the stack big nums as you can see here. So what it does, first it declares a big nums global variable. And after that, we have a for loop to iterate over this nums. And in case the length of string num, that is each string that we are extracting from this random list, if the length of that string is greater than or equal to 5, so big nums will be appended with that num, right? And finally, after the loop, it will print the big nums, correct? And after this, the pop big function pops the number from stack big nums one by one and prints them. If the stack becomes empty, it prints stack empty. So for this, what we do, we declare a global variable big nums, and until big nums is not empty, what it does, it keeps on calling pop function and finally it prints stack empty. Okay, now let me first call push big function that has been defined here. Let me just run the program. So as you can see, it has called this print statement stack after push big, and then it has called big nums. So it is printing 10025 which is greater than or equal to 5, then 254923, then 1297653, then 31498,
and finally 92765. All right. Now let's discuss about pop big function. So before discussing this function, let me discuss about one important concept for stack, that is LIFO. So elements are pushed into big nums and the last added element is removed first, that is last in first out. Okay, that is what is going to happen using pop big function. So in the first iteration, if you notice here, we have the big nums, and using the while loop it keeps on popping the element from backside, right? That is last in first out because stack follows leaf order. And finally, once all the elements are popped out, it will print stack empty. So now let me uncomment it. And before running this function, let me discuss what could be the output. So first iteration will give me 92765, then 31498, then 1297653, then 254923, and then finally we'll get 10025. And in the last, we will see stack empty as a string. Now let me run it. There we go. As you can see, 92365, sorry, 92765, then 31498, 1297653, 254923, 10025, and stack empty. Let's move to section D, and question number 31 is consider the table admin and transport given below. So the admin table has four columns: SID, SNAME, address, and S type. And table transport has three columns where we have SID, bus number, and stop name. Now it says write SQL queries for the following. The first question is display the student name and their stop name from the tables admin and transport. Second question is display the number of students whose S type is not known. Third question is display all details of the students whose name starts with V. And fourth question is display student ID and address in alphabetical order of student name from the table admin. To answer these questions, I have created following statements. At first, we create a table called admin with these four columns: SID, SNAME, address, and SType. And after this, we insert the expected data in this table as mentioned in the question paper. Like the student name is Sandhya, Vedanshi, Vibhu, and Atharv. Address would be Rohini, Rohtak, Rajnagar, and Rampur. And S type is day boarder, day scholar, null, and day boarder again. After this, we have created a table called transport with these three columns: SID, bus number, and stop name. And later, we have inserted the expected records in this table also. Now let's try to answer the questions one by one. So first question says we need to fetch student name from admin table and stop name from the transport table. Since both tables have a common SID, we will use an inner join. So let me just type the query, select, and let me write the column names later. First, use admin as A, inner join, transport as T, with on clause A dot S underscore ID should be t dot s underscore id. Okay. Now what is the expected thing? A dot student name and t dot stop name. See what it does is it joins the admin table, which is this, to transport table based on the SID column, because SID is the common column between them, right? So we use the inner join so that we can avoid the duplicates, right? And finally, because the question wants only two columns, that is student name and stop name, so that's why I have included both the columns. We can also replace it with asterisk symbol to get all the columns. Okay, so let me run this query, and there we go. The output is Vedanshi Sarai Kale Khan and Atharv Sainik Vihar, right? Okay. Now, in the next question, we need to display the students where student type is not known. So, for that, let me write the query as select from admin, right? Where S type, right? S type is not known means it is null. Okay. But as they are asking about the number of students, so we need to use count function. Okay. And count along with count asterisk. Either we can use asterisk or we can use SID column. Okay. Anything is okay. So I'm using asterisk as unknown S type count. This will give the column name to the output. Now let me run the query. So as you can see, one student type is unknown. Now we are expected to display all the details of students whose name starts with V. So let me write the query for that. So I will start with select, and I will not type the column names, but I will use the table name admin as A, and left outer join transport as T. Okay, on A dot SID is equal to T dot S underscore ID. Why left outer join? Because there are chances that some details may not be available. But even in that case, we do not want to ignore that candidate. Okay. We want to show all the details of all the candidates. Now let me do one thing. Let me use column SID from A, then again A dot S name, then A dot address, right? Then A dot S type, S underscore type. And because these are the four columns, now let me type T dot SID, then T dot bus number and T dot stop name, right? All right. So now if I run it, it gives me an error called, okay, I think I missed. Okay, now I wrote as two times. Okay, now I need to run it again. All right, Now, if you notice, I have missed one specific condition, and that is the important one, that is a dot s underscore name. This should start with v. Okay, so I will use like clause v and a percentage. That means everything that starts with v but ends with anything. Okay, now let me run it. There we go, right? So we have student number 2 and student number 3. So what are the details available? Details are the student number, the name, the location, right? Whether the person is day scholar or not. And again, it is repeating the student ID. So what we can do, we can remove this student ID because anyway we are joining on it, right? So let me run again. All right. Now if you notice, this student 3 does not have any details like student type and all other things like bus number or stop name. The reason is because student number 3 here is not available in transport table itself, right? But it is available in admin table. Okay, that's why we have two records. One, Vedanshi has all the details, but Vibhu has the details only from admin table, not from transport table. Now we have to display student ID and address in alphabetical order in the fourth question. So what we can do, we can use select SID and address from admin table and then order by S name. Okay, and there we go. So alphabetical order is Rampur, Rohini, Rohtak and Rajnagar. Question 32 says Sangeeta is a Python programmer working in a computer hardware company. She has to maintain the records of the peripheral devices. She created a CSV file named peripheral.csv to store the details. The structure of peripheral CSV is PID, PName, price, where PID is peripheral device ID, which is of integer type. PName is peripheral device name, which is of string type. And price is peripheral device price, which is of integer type. Now, Sangeeta wants to write the following user-defined functions. And first function is add device. It is used to accept a record from the user and add it to a CSV file peripheral.csv. And second function is count underscore device, which is used to count and display number of peripheral devices whose price is less than 1000. I have already written the program for you. Let's discuss it. Add device function should accept user input for PID, PName and price and appends the record to the peripheral.csv. Whereas count device method reads the peripheral.csv file, counts the devices where price is less than 1000 and displays the total count. Now let's try to understand the code sequentially. So we import a library called CSV and in add device function, we accept the user input. Okay. So for PID, PName and price. And after that, we open the peripheral.csv file in append mode. All right. And after that, we start writing the rows. So we use the write row method to insert PID, PName and price. And finally, we print record added successfully. Now let's discuss about count device method. So here we initialize the count with 0. And in the try block, we open the peripheral.csv device in read mode. And after that, we start reading the file completely. Then we initiate a loop for row by row. And what it does is it checks if the row is not empty, verifies the third column, row 2, which is price, is a valid number using isDigit method, and then checks if price is less than 1000. If all the conditions are met, then it increments count to 1, else it just keeps on looping. And finally, it displays the overall count. So now let me try running the add device method. So let me write the peripheral ID as compilo01, name as compilo, price as 101. All right. So record added successfully. Now let me run both of the functions sequentially. Compilo 001, compilo 101. Yes. So the number of peripheral devices with price less than 1000 is 1. Let's move to section E, where question number 33 says Infotainment Limited is an event management company with its prime office located in Bengaluru. The company is planning to open its new division at 3 different locations in Chennai, named as Vajra, Trishul, and Sudarshana. Yes, you, as a networking expert, need to suggest solutions to the questions in part 1 to 5, keeping in mind the distances and other given parameters. And if you see the image depicted on screen, it has Bengaluru office and Chennai division. And then we have a table where distances between various locations have been mentioned. And in the next table, we have the number of computers installed at various locations. So the first question says, suggest and draw the cable layout to efficiently connect various locations in Chennai division for connecting the digital devices. The proposed layout is displayed on the screen. The Chennai division consists of Vajra, Trishula and Sudarshana. The distances between them are Vajra to Trishula 350 meters, Trishula to Sudarshana 415 meters and Sudarshana to Vajra 300 meters. Therefore, a triangular topology is the best layout for connectivity between these locations. The recommended layout would be direct cable connection between Vajra and Trishula along with Vajra and Sudarshana. This structure ensures redundancy so that if one link fails, data can be rerouted. A star topology can be used within each building to connect digital devices internally. Second question says, which block in Chennai division should host the server? Justify your answer. The correct answer should be Vajra. The reason why Vajra should host the server is because it serves the highest number of users, optimizing speed and reducing network congestion. This approach is more user-centric and efficient. third question says, which fast and effective wired transmission medium should be used to connect the prime office at Bengaluru with the Chennai division? The recommended transmission medium should be fiber optic cable or optical fiber cable. See, the distance between Bengaluru and Chennai is high, so it requires a medium with minimum signal loss. Fiber optics can provide speeds up to Tbps, that is terabits per second, which is essential for handling large event management data. Unlike copper cables, fiber optics are immune to electromagnetic interference, ensuring stable connectivity. Next question says, which network device will be used to connect the digital devices within each location of Chennai division so that they may communicate with each other? The recommended device should be switch. A switch ensures efficient data transfer within each location, directing packets only to the intended device. Unlike hubs, switches reduce network congestion and improve overall speed. It can connect computers, printers, and other digital devices in an organized local area network. Fifth question is, a considerable amount of data loss is noticed between different locations of the Chennai division, which are connected in the network. Suggest a networking device that should be installed to refresh the data and reduce the data loss during transmission to and from different locations of Chennai division. The recommended device is repeater. It is needed to be installed in the Chennai division to reduce data and signal loss. A repeater amplifies and regenerates weak signals, ensuring minimal data loss over long distances. It also ensures reliable communication between Vajra, Trishula, and Sudarshana without signal degradation. It is a simple device that enhances network efficiency without needing additional complex infrastructure. The first part of question 34a says, differentiate between W and A file modes in Python. Although we have couple of more differences, but since it's a 2 mark question, so we have mentioned only 2 differences. If we talk about write mode, so it opens the file for writing, and if the file exists, it overwrites the existing content. If the file does not exist, it creates a new file. When it comes to append mode, it opens the file for appending data. And if the file exists, it adds the required data. Second part of question 34a says, consider a binary file items.dat containing records stored in the given format. Write a function copy_new that copies all records whose amount is greater than 1000 from items.dat to new_items.dat. To solve this problem, we have imported pickle library. And if you see the definition of copy_new, so inside the try block, we open items.dat file in binary read mode, that is RB. Along with that, we open new_items.dat file under binary write mode, that is WB. After that, inside the while loop, it reads the record using pickle.load method. And inside the for loop, it checks if the amount of details is greater than 1000 or not. If the condition is met, the record is written to new underscore items dot dat file. It also handles the end of file error, that is EOF error, inside the except block. And we use the break statement to stop reading from when the end of file is reached. The first part of question 34b says, what is the advantage of using with clause while opening a data file in Python? Also give syntax of with clause. The with clause is used for handling file operations efficiently. The major advantage is that it automatically closes the file after execution. Even if an error occurs, it prevents resource leaks. The advantages of with clause are: first is automatic file closure. With clause ensures that the file is closed properly after operations, even if an error occurs. Second advantage is it avoids manual closing. Basically, we do not need to explicitly call file.close. The third advantage is better readability. The code becomes cleaner and more readable. And fourth is exception handling. Basically, it prevents file corruption by handling exceptions gracefully. And when we talk about the syntax, it is visible on the screen with open, with the file name and the mode, be it A, that is append, or R, or any other mode as file. And then we can start reading it. The second part of question 34b says, a binary file emp.dat has the following structure, where emp underscore id is employee id, name is equal to employee name, and salary is employee salary. Write a user defined function disp underscore detail that would read the contents of the file emp.dat and display the details of those employees whose salary is below 25,000. To implement this function, we have imported pickle library, and the definition of this function disp underscore detail is we initiate with try block, and here we open emp.dat file in binary read mode, that is RB, and until the while loop executes, it reads each employee record using pickle.load. It extracts empid, name and salary and checks if salary is less than 25,000 to print the details. It also throws end of file error in case end of file has reached, and then it breaks the statement. And finally, it also handles file not found error in the except block. The first part of question 35a says, define Cartesian product with respect to RDBMS. See, in relational database management systems, that is RDBMS, the Cartesian product is a type of join operation that returns all possible combinations of rows from two or more tables. It occurs when there is no specific join condition between the tables. If table A has m rows and B has n rows, then Cartesian product returns in m cross n rows. Each row in table A pairs with every row in table B. For example, you can see we have table A with customer names, Alice and Bob, and table B with the order ID and product name. So if we perform Cartesian product, so we will get the output of 4 rows. However, Cartesian product is usually avoided in large databases as it generates huge result sets, increasing processing time. The second part of question 35a says, Sunil wants to write a program in Python to update the quantity to 20 of the records whose item code is 111 in the table named shop in MySQL database named keeper. The table shop in MySQL contains the following attributes: item code of integer type, name of item of string type, quantity of item of integer type, and price of item as integer type. Consider the following to establish connectivity between Python and MySQL. The username will be admin, password will be shopping, and host will be localhost.
Now, we have already written the code for you, and this code at first it establishes connection to MySQL using mysql.connector.connect. And to use this method, we have imported mysql.connector. The connect method takes host, user, password, and database names. So we have passed localhost, admin, shopping, and keeper as mentioned in the question. And after that, we create a cursor. Now we have a update query, update shop, set quantity is equal to 20, where item code is 111. We execute this query using the cursor. And finally, the con.commit commits the changes. And we have a print statement which confirms that quantity has been updated successfully. We also handle the errors in the except block by using mysql.connector.error. And finally, we close the connection using cursor.close and connection.close. The first part of question 35b says, give any two features of SQL. When we talk about the features of SQL, at first, SQL provides commands such as create, alter, and drop to define and modify database structures, and they come under data definition language. Next is SQL allows inserting, updating, and deleting along with retrieval of data using commands like insert, update, delete, and select. All of them fall under data manipulation language. Additionally, SQL is not a procedural language. The second part of question 35b says, Sumit wants to write a code in Python to display all details of the passengers from the table flight in MySQL database travel. The table contains the following attributes: flight code of string type, name of flight of string type, departure city of flight of string type, and destination city of flight of string type. Consider the following to establish connectivity between Python and MySQL. The user name will be root, password will be airplane, and host will be localhost. So we have already written the required code. So we start by importing mysql.connector and use the connect method by passing host, user, password, and database as localhost, root, airplane, and travel. After that, we create a cursor based on connect method, and then we pass a query select asterisk from flight. We use the cursor to execute the query, and then we use fetch all method to fetch all the rows. And finally, we display the data in tabular format with proper alignment. Additionally, we handle error using mysql.connector.error, and finally we close the connection by calling cursor.close and con.close. Do you know 1 mark question play a crucial role in getting good marks in computer science in class 12th? Now, to help our students, we have prepared a booklet with 250 plus questions which are of 1 mark each, with multiple assertion and reasoning questions, true false, multiple choice questions, and fill in the blanks. So if you are interested in that booklet, so what you can do is you can follow the link given in the description. And if I navigate there, so once you open the link given in the description, you will reach out here. But unlike solved question paper of 2024, it has a fixed price of 89 rupees. The procedure is same, just you have to enter the email ID and phone as we have shown you earlier, and once you do it, you can just quickly pay it using UPI, card or net banking. And once you do that, the PDF will be downloaded, which will look like this. So we have multiple 1 mark question along with proper explanation of each answer. So if you are really interested in achieving good marks, you can just follow the link, download the file and read it before your exam.